want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.
Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition.
All right, everybody, bright and early on a Saturday morning. It is the Jaguar Journal. Good morning and happy holidays to everybody. Of course, I'm Perry White, and good morning to everybody listening on Talk 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area. Everybody out there listening and watching on our YouTube and Facebook Live, good morning to you guys as well. As always, be sure to keep up with the Jaguar Journal on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, Facebook. And be sure to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel as we continue to grow. Mike tells me about the analytics. We're growing everywhere. And the only way we grow is because of you. And we looked at it last week, looking at back when we first started to where we at now, over nearly 300,000 views on our YouTube channel, which is amazing considering this little old show right here in Baton Rouge that's bright and early on a Saturday morning called the Jaguar Journal. So as we can continue to expand and grow with us. Like I tell you all the time, it costs nothing. It is free to hit that follow button, to hit that like button, to hit that subscribe button, because as always, it's the Jaguar Journal. The Jaguar Journal has been going on for 20 plus years. I believe right now it is the longest continued sports talk or sports radio show, or let's just say continuous radio show in Louisiana. So that tells you just the history. I mean, people have told me how long they've been listening to this show. Hey, and there's been plenty of greats before me, right? There have been plenty of directions of the Jaguar Journal before me. But right now with me at the helm, my man Mike steering us in the direction we need to go, and CJ putting the fuel in this thing, we're going to keep it going and rock and roll. I hope everybody had a merry and wonderful Christmas, a Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and everything else that you guys celebrate, because guess what? 'Tis the season to be jolly. And if you're not jolly, I don't know what you're doing. As I talked about last week, it's a season that's supposed to be filled with love and positivity. We're supposed to be getting ready to end the year and get ready for a new year. And how was 2025 for you guys? You know, was it a year of prosperity? Was it a year of reflection? Was it a year of just building? You know, for some of you, I've had bad years in my life as well. You know, for some people, was it a bad year that you just say you want to put behind you and work towards a better year? All of those things happen. We don't live in a perfect world. I remember one year, man, I had just graduated from college. It was, I graduated that fall and I started the year out and I was like, man, I need to get it together. I had just, my son was just a little bit over 1, and I was full daddy duties and I needed money. And I was just like, man, school's over. Now what do I do? So, I'm part of this generation. I'm Googling how to make $50,000, how to make $2,000 a week. You're looking for anything that you can find because in those times or moments, you're looking for how can you get money quick, legally. Okay, let's just make sure we talk about legally. I just want to make sure. But, I'm doing all of that. So at the time, Waiter, which is basically like DoorDash and all of that stuff now, Waiter had just took off. And I believe the company has started out of Lafayette or Lake Charles, one of the two. But it was starting to take off in the Baton Rouge area before DoorDash and all that other stuff took off. So I ended up getting the job. I had my little pickup truck, man, and, started out with that. Now, that job single-handedly, I did that job for about 6 months. Got me back on my feet into something else then, was able to put me in a position to do better. But I worked it until I was able to get something else. But what I realized was with that job, I had to figure out how to make it work for me because everybody don't tip. I learned that quick, fast, and hurry being my first time working in something like that, right? I remember one time I picked up an order at Chimes off of, is that Coursey? Yeah, Chimes off of Coursey. Chimes East, I think they call it. And the order went all the way past Central. So I'm like, man, typically if you get something like that, oh boy, they finna get you right. You know what I'm saying? They ordered like tons of food. Man, so I'm driving. And the thing about it back then, you didn't know what the tip was until after the fact. So once you hit complete order, then you got what it said, whatever the tip was. But I drive this way out there, deliver it to this lady and her people. And nice house, nice everything. And I'm thinking it's going to be good because that was a long drive and a long wait for the food. Get in the truck. I'm driving off. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to complete this. I'm going to see $0 tip. That one hurt. So, the people who worked was trying to give me tidbits like, hey, you want the area like Prairieville, you want like Denham Springs, you want that area. But for me, that was just too far because everything's so spread out. You're using gas, it's wear and tear on your on your vehicle. But then what I realized, I came and found my own little niche. Downtown was a gold mine. The lunch hour. So you pick certain hours. I'll give you just what kind of year I had that year. And the lunch hour, I think you can work, my hours that I work was from 10 to 2. So what I would do is now it has a GPS. And if anybody's not in a certain area where an order needs to be picked up, they automatically give it to whoever's closer. I tell you, one side of town, nobody ever wanted to pick up an order was North Baton Rouge. It was what it was. So people tried their best to keep their vehicle away from over there. But if you just so happen to have an order to take you over that way and it's 4 orders that need to be picked up, you're going to be assigned all of those orders to get those orders from that side of town. So I figured out downtown, from the state buildings to the law offices to everything around, people don't really want to go too far, but they want things that's from around the area. So I would post up by the old state capitol right there where is that Galvez Square, the plaza, whatever that is, and back in right there. As soon as I clock in, my GPS is right there because I'm already downtown and I'm getting everything from that area. I don't waste a lot of gas. The tips were great. So I conserved a lot of fuel because all I was up and down 3rd Street to the Capitol, to all the state buildings, up and down to the law offices that's all nestled in that area, and any other business around downtown. And that's how I made it work for me. And I made a ton of money. And then I realized Sundays were great days too. For some reason, everybody ordered pizza, but they normally would tip more than what the pizza even cost. Sundays were great for me, especially Sunday afternoons. I think I did 2 to 6. Oh, great time of the day. Great time. So I understand, typically when we talk about going into a new year, the number one problem is finances. And I'm just telling you what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do. So now what I got to do is get ready to take a break, everybody. So let me do that. When we come back on the side, we're going to talk about the world of FCS football with my man, Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue. We're going to talk about the transfer portal, who's in, who's out, what coaching changes. We're going to look at the FCS playoffs, who's playing for the national championship, take a look back through the SWAC and the MEAC, as well as the Celebration Bowl. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. More to Jaguar Journal.
By Carlos Funchess' group. He's in his 8th season at Southern. Actually been on campus for 21 years with the program. Anywhere in the SWAC to win an NCAA tournament game.
Well, that pressure caused a turnover for Arizona.
Oh, nice bucket by Porter. Arizona in its 53rd season of basketball, trying to defend in the paint, and that is just tough to defend off the window. Porter.
You put it on the ground as a post player. I always said no more than one dribble, but it's a show and go, and she said, give me the ball.
Tate inside, beautiful pass, finished by Hall. The Lady Jags is set. Nice take by Lagway, came up short. Cam Kitchen all alone. She's not going to miss from there.
Yeah, she took off,
And this is with leading scorer Hurston being held to just 2 points. That triple is good. Tremendous make and take by Arizona with an opportunity to add to its 6-0 run.
That was a really nice basket by Delancey, and Arizona forced a lot. Oh, that was a great basket by Francois.
Nice answer by Arizona.
If they can on the sideline, there it is, and there it is.
Cunningham gives it up. Purdue pushing pace.
And a foul. If they can on the sideline, there it is, and there it is.
Cunningham gives it up. Purdue pushing pace.
And a foul. And a foul.
Too strong. Francois, board, short. Francois again, up and in.
Big basket there by Francois.
All right, everybody, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning. Glad to have you guys with us. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody had a safe and wonderful Christmas holiday, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, like I say, whatever it is that you love. I hope you loved it to the fullest, along with being around family and loved ones. And if you wasn't, love yourself. If you don't do nothing else, that's what it's all about. Now, as we continue to get things going and we end the year, let's end it on a high note, talking about some FCS football. And as we always know, he's no stranger to the show, and nobody better to talk FCS football than my man, Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue. What's up, Blue?
What's up, man?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, man. Early. You got me up early today, man, but I'm feeling good.
Get on up. Hey, listen, Blue, man, glad to have you with us this morning, man. And listen, as we wrap up the 2025 season, when we're just talking about FCS, one more game has to be played, and it's the FCS National Championship, which we'll get to that here in a minute. Just looking around the landscape, there was a lot of changes. You're talking about the transfer portal. You're talking about head coaches. You're looking at the teams playing in the FCS National Championship. You're looking at the teams that played in the Celebration Bowl. Just for you, man, nothing in particular, but just as an overview of FCS, how did you see it this year?
Yeah, man, I thought it was a very interesting year, right? Like, it started the year with everyone kind of saying it was North Dakota State versus everyone else, which was fair, right? Like, you look at it on paper, and they look like the best team. Cole Payton came out on fire. There's a reason he is going to be at the Walter Payton ceremony right before the national championship. But, I mean, you look at the playoffs, historically, it's really, really hard for road teams to win. And this year we had a historic number of road wins. Like, you look back last week, man, Illinois State beating Villanova in the semifinals here. I think it was like the first road team to win a semifinal game since like 2016. And I think the parity of the FCS really, really was helped this year because you have, even with Montana State going to the national championship here, they always kind of get grouped in with North Dakota State. Compared, they haven't won a national title since 1984. So it's been a long time since they've been at the top of the mountain. And then you look at Illinois State; they've made a natty appearance. They were one of the teams that North Dakota State beat back in 2014. But They've never won a national championship. They were an unseeded team. They lost by 30 the last week of the regular season, were one of the last 4 teams in, Perry, and they won 4 consecutive road games to get to Nashville this year, and they're 9-0 on the road against FCS opponents this year, man. It's an unprecedented run, and I think overall, man, for the FCS, this season really showed that regardless of who leaves, who enters, man, the FCS as a whole is super healthy.
Let's take a look at our neck of the woods when we talk about the MEAC and the SWAC. And let's look at the MEAC. Deshaun Jackson takes over a Delaware State team in his first year, one of the top rushing teams in all of FCS football. Then Michael Vick comes into the fold, taking over a Norfolk State team. And then, of course, you have the rest of the guys that are around the way, like a Damon Wilson, Larry Scott. You had Trey Oliver, along with the champion himself, Chennis Berry. But looking at that, it came down to basically 2 teams in a championship, de facto championship, at the end of the year between Delaware State and South Carolina State. And North Carolina Central didn't make it easy for anybody along the way. But when you look at that conference as a whole this year in 2025, your thoughts on the level of play and, of course, the surprise of Delaware State being a contender this year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody outside of like maybe a handful of people saw what Delaware State was really going to be. I think it speaks to Deshaun, his coaching hires this past offseason. I mean, I thought he killed it in terms of surrounding himself with guys who were going to build a championship culture, not only recruit good players, but just be good game day coaches. And that speaks for a lot. I think when you look at the champion with Chennis Berry, man, what an unprecedented run. Back-to-back years going undefeated in the conference. If you want to stretch it back to his time at Benedict, he hasn't lost a conference game in 4 years. That South Carolina State program, you can say what you want about location, resources, whatever, man. All they do is win football games over there, and they have for a long time. It's why they're in the conversation to be one of the blue bloods in HBCU football. 8 wins is 8 wins, Perry, but when you look at Central, it was a little bit of a disappointing year, man. I thought this was the year that Trey Oliver probably had one of his better teams of his tenure at Central, and again, you look back and there's just so many games that he just gave up, or not gave up, but just shouldn't have lost. You look at the New Hampshire game where he just had a weird collapse. You look at the slow start against South Carolina State. You look at Delaware State. I mean, there was just so many games where you put a question like, what happened with that team? And then I think you look at the rest of the MEAC, Perry, with Howard, Morgan State, Norfolk. Now, obviously, Howard has a head coaching change now. And we'll see what happens there, but I think for Morgan and Norfolk, you really have to look at those programs and wonder what's the trajectory. I think Vic really needed to make some changes on that staff, man, because I did think they had talent on the field, but coaching matters at the end of the day, Perry. And I just think they made some really, really bad staff hires, and it really bit on me in some close games this past year.
Let me ask you, do you believe Deshaun Jackson, with the season and turnaround that he had at Delaware State, should have been named the MEAC Coach of the Year?
Yeah, but on the flip side, I want to be fair, because that is a subjective thing. There are people who vote for coaches who win championships, and I think that's a fair thing. To say that Chennis Berry didn't deserve it would be disingenuous on my part, because he has won every single conference game in the MEAC since he's been there. So, I mean, is he the coach of the year? Probably. But for me as a voter, when I do my FCS national ballots, when I vote for the coach of the year, I do value coaches who did more with less and turn programs around year one than I do coaches who have sustained success. And so I just think it's a fundamental difference in what certain voters value. But I would have voted for Deshaun Jackson, but it doesn't really bother me that Chennis Berry won it.
Let's look over into the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, the SWAC this year. Jermaine Jackson, who had coached last year for a D2 national championship at Valdosta State, comes over, takes over Prairie View. Then you look at T.C. Taylor rebuilding what he has as the defending Black College national champion. Eddie Robertson has a full, healthy year, of course, that we thought with Andrew Body, but then injury comes in and kind of hampers them, but it didn't derail them. And then you just look around the rest of the conference. Let's take Southern, who had maybe one of its worst seasons ever. And then you culminate that. And then who saw Prairie View versus Jackson State for a SWAC championship, and Prairie View ultimately win it. But your thoughts looking at the SWAC, looking at SWAC East, West, and overall for the conference?
Yeah, well, to be fair, Perry, that's kind of what I foresaw. Like, I picked PV to win the West to start the season. I had Jackson going out of the East. Now, did I see PV winning that SWAC championship game? Definitely not, man. Year one, so impressive with what Tremaine Jackson did. And I think the most impressive thing, really and truly, Perry, is when you look at that roster, yes, did they bring in a ton of transfers and flip some of the depth of that program, brought in some key guys like Trevor Randall at safety and some other guys. But how about the contributors that were already there before he got there? We didn't see Cam Peters playing like that before he got there. We didn't see some of these wide receivers playing like that before he got there. The offensive line, I really do think that speaks to coaching, right? He got the most out of the talent that was already in the room. I think Jackson, and they did what they were supposed to do in terms of getting out of the East, but it was a little bit disappointing how they played down the stretch. I think injuries and I think they had some stuff that it just really didn't click for them this year, man. They had a ton of talent, but they still weren't able to necessarily live up to the exact standard that everyone kind of held them to in the preseason. I was really impressed with Bama State again. What would have really happened down the stretch? I would say if Andrew Body was healthy, maybe, because I know there was some talk about I think their AD came out and said they might have potentially moved, like opted out of that last game of the year against Tuskegee to potentially go to the playoffs. Maybe they do that if Andrew Body's healthy. I don't know, but it came down to one play for them, man. But 10 wins is 10 wins. Super impressive. But how about Bethune-Cookman, man? I think that was the surprise of the SWAC to me, Terry. If you would have told me Bethune-Cookman would have finished 6-6, 5-3 in conference, I would have said you were crazy. What a performance by the Wildcats there. I thought they were the most improved team in the SWAC this year. Because I thought me and you talked in the preseason period, we really did think Bethune-Cookman was going to have to make a head coaching change this year. And now you're talking about he's locked in. If they can just fill in some key pieces there, man, they're going to be a factor in the East. And then I think on the other side, man, quietly, Grambling State and Texas Southern both had really, really good years. And I think that speaks a lot to Mickey Joseph and then even what Dishman's doing over there at Texas Southern. But you kind of mentioned the elephant in the room in Southern, man. We'll see this Marshall Falk hire, lots of publicity. He's filling out his staff right now. We'll see what they bring in from the transfer portal on the recruiting trail, man. But I don't think anybody, even if you didn't think Southern was going to be good, 2-10 is really and truly unacceptable. 1-7 in conference, and you can make an argument, like you said, it was one of the worst seasons in Southern football history. And so I'll be very, very curious to see how the Jaguars turn it around next year.
And interesting as we get ready to end this segment, the Celebration Bowl. You talked about Chennis Berry, you talked about Tremaine Jackson. Both of those guys, respectfully, Coach of the Year in their conferences and lead their team into a championship Celebration Bowl game. And, man, it came down to a 2-point conversion, a 2-point victory for South Carolina State. And that one, man, listen, it gave you everything you wanted because it looked like Prairie View was going to take off with that thing early when they jumped out 21-0. But a fumble on the end around changed the momentum, and South Carolina State jumped on it, and they found themselves back in their ball game, tying it up. And after that, it was back and forth, and it gave you everything you wanted.
Yeah, I was stunned with the comeback in the second half. And then how about the coaching job right there for Chennis Berry and South Carolina State? And they had nothing offensively for PV for the majority of that game, man. And then, like you said, it sometimes it just takes one play, and people who have been around football understand this, and momentum is a real thing in this game. And I was absolutely stunned at the offensive play calling there, man. Period. It's 1st and 10, third quarter. You're moving the football, and you call a reverse right there. I just still can't wrap my head around that play call, and that one fumble, Perry. It really and truly just changed the whole momentum of the game. And then at the end there, you were so aggressive, right, and almost gave the game away with that reverse. Then when it comes down to you going to convert the 3rd and 3 instead of settling for a field goal, you just take a knee on the middle of the field for a kicker that has already missed a field goal earlier in the game. There was just some really questionable offensive play calling there for PV, but you have to give South Carolina State a ton of credit, man. Backup quarterback comes in, plays lights out. It was an outstanding performance, outstanding win for South Carolina State.
It was, man. And Ryan Stubblefield, the backup quarterback, came in for Atkins. You know, he's shown flashes throughout the year and even going back to last year, man. And congratulations to him being the MVP of the game and stepping up, man. And Smith, that wide receiver, man, the way they used him in terms of those jet sweeps and everything else, man. Every time you looked up, he found himself into the end zone, man. Congratulations to Coach Chennis Berry and South Carolina State on the job well done. Black College National Champion as well as Celebration Bowl champion, but hats off as well to Prairie View. I think Coach Tremaine Jackson in year one has shown us a lot, that the guy can really coach. He can change your culture, and watch out because he'll be around for a while over there at Prairie View for the Panthers. All right, let's get ready to take a break, everybody. I got my man Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue, talking some FCS football. Come back on the other side of this break. We're going to talk about some coaching changes around the FCS. We'll look into the transfer portal as well as the FCS playoffs. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
And Southern trying to make it 2 straight wins against a Power 4. As we see the Houston starting 5, Kiera Merchant is not available today. It's Pagero, Jones, Hunter, Pameli. Entry pass, Abdur Rahim. Beautiful finish and a foul.
Let's see if they can get a kill. Try to get 3 consecutive defensive stops, get a couple scores. Before you know it, you'll be back in it. But Southern.
Abdur Rahim.
All right, everybody, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning. I am Perry White. Glad to have you guys listening on Talk 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area. And everybody out there that is listening and watching on our YouTube, Facebook, got my man Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue, talking about some FCS football. Good morning, Blue.
Good morning, man.
All right, man, as we continue to keep things going, Blue, let's look into the crystal ball, right? And as we look around in that crystal ball, of course, it comes with the transfer portal. We've had an early signing period that has passed. But for you looking around FCS, and let's start with, I guess, with black college football, because that's who a lot of our listeners right now are in tune with. But if you look around black college football, particularly in the SWAC and the MEAC, what does the transfer portal look like thus far as we talk about coming out of that early signing period?
Man, transfer portal has been wreaking havoc, but especially across, the SWAC, man. Like, you look at Jackson, they have lost so many key contributors to the transfer portal, from, backup quarterbacks to starting offensive linemen to starting running backs to defensive backs, linebackers, defensive linemen. They've lost a ton of talent. PV's had a handful of key guys at the portal. Like Josiah Rockwell is going to be a P4 guy. I'm really, really excited to see where he potentially ends up. And I think you've seen a handful, like FAMU's had a handful of key guys at the portal as well. But I really do. I'm interested to see, though, what these teams do to replace those guys once the portal opens on January 2nd. Because right now, Perry, you can't sign D1 transfers right now. You can sign D2, and we've seen a handful of really good D2 guys transfer up to the FCS level. So I'm excited to see what the SWAC does with that, because there's been some other FCS teams that have really, really eaten in the portal. And so I'm very, very curious to see what they do, because the portal always works both ways, man. And I know people get really upset when players transfer and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, these teams are gonna be very, very active. And you look at the coaching changes, I would guarantee Sam's going to be very active. There's probably a handful of players from Albany State that are going to enter the portal and probably come to FAMU. I look specifically at that quarterback, man. He is outstanding. And then what can Southern do in the transfer portal, Perry? I know you particularly are super excited about that. Like, what can Falk do? Can he bring some guys who might have left the state of Louisiana and want to come home back to Louisiana? And same with Tremaine Jackson and Chris Fishman in the state of Texas. And I'm really curious to see what Tremaine Jackson and T.C. Taylor in particular can do. Those are two guys who they both signed top 10 transfer portal classes in the FCS last year, Perry. So I think those two guys are going to be very aggressive again. And they might have to be aggressive just because of need this year, because both those teams have lost some key guys to the portal.
You know, one team that I always say get ravaged by their best players out of the portal, and, doesn't necessarily mean their best players lead to a great season, but that's UAPB, man. It seems like every year they have to specifically deal with this every year once a guy seems a breakout year up there.
Yeah. It's odd, right? Like with them and Valley, right? Both of those schools, well, what makes them so interesting, Perry, is that both those schools, because of what they are, not only do they have to fight off FCS schools when the players have breakout seasons, they have to fight off other SWAC schools. And that's the unique position, right? Like when you look at Southern, Jackson, Grambling, FAM, it's very rare that a player has like an All-American, All-SWAC season and transfers to another SWAC program. It's much more common when you look at UAPB, Valley, even Texas Southern sometimes, right? Bethune-Cookman. That's what makes it so hard to build at those programs, is that you don't have to just worry about being poached from above. You have to be worried about being poached in your own conference. Look at Nate Rimbert. How big would he have been on Valley this year, man? And look what he did at Jackson.
Yeah.
And there's countless other examples of that. And so I think that's the unique position that some of these programs are in, is that they have to fight off in SWAC coaching compared to other schools only having to worry about their players transferring up.
Yeah, Quincy Ivory was another guy who SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. He started at Valley. You look at Southern's quarterback coming into that room, started out at Jackson State. I mean, you look around the conference, you see Andrew Body, who's from Texas Southern, right? Over at Alabama State, you see guys jumping from here to there. But Andrew Body along into the transfer portal, man. Your thoughts on, what the future probably holds for him with this one more year of eligibility?
Yeah, I'm just hoping he makes the right decision, man. And obviously, I've talked to his people about it, and I'm very curious to see where he ends up. I really hope he goes to a place that has a history of developing quarterbacks, has a history of utilizing players like his skill set to the best ability. But I don't want to see him just go be a pocket passer. I want to see creativity, someone using his athleticism outside of the pocket, things like that. And then also, too, I don't want to see him just go up and be a bench warmer, man. I know there's been a lot of people talking crazy on the internet about he should just go get the biggest bag and who cares about playing time and all that, man. I disagree, man. I want to see this. I want to see Andrew go play somewhere, be successful, potentially win a conference championship somewhere at the G5, P4 level, man, and hopefully get drafted, because ultimately that's good for HBC football to see that happen. And I think he's good enough to do it. And I think he's going to have plenty of interest. And I'm very, very curious to see where he ends up. I'm just hoping that him, his representatives, his parents, they make a really, really smart decision in terms of where they commit to, because I've seen way too many good FCS HBC players transfer up for a bag, Barry, and they're clipboard holders.
Also along with this transfer portal, coaches have been let go. You're looking at FAMU with James Coles. You look at Southern with Terrence Graves. That's right there in the SWAC. But, across the FCS landscape, not just the HBCUs, but any coaching changes out there caught you by surprise, or any coaching change you said, man, that was needed to be done?
I think for everybody, right? I'm a little bit surprised that Larry Scott coming out of nowhere, going to Auburn.
Yeah, as the tight ends coach at Auburn.
Yeah, listen, pay raise, all that kind of stuff, that's great. But I mean, man, that was a little bit unexpected. Now I know some Howard fans will tell you, Terry, that they're real happy about that move. So we'll see if that was a good thing for them. But looking across like FCS football, Mercer's hire of Joel Taylor was outstanding. I know he was a candidate potentially for Southern's head coaching job. I'm really, really high on him. What he did at West Georgia is outstanding. You look at Penn going to poach Rick Santos from his alma mater at New Hampshire, a guy who's had New Hampshire in the playoffs multiple years. The Ivy League coming into the playoffs this year for the first time. You can see they're starting to really invest and understand what it might take to compete in that in that arena. And then finally, man, Stanford there in the SoCon in Birmingham, John Gross coming back to the FCS. If you remember, he was the head coach at Jacksonville State in the mid 2010s up until like 2021. He was the head coach of that Jacksonville State team that went heads up with North Dakota State in the national championship, almost upset Auburn, won 6 conference championships during his time at Jacksonville State, has spent the last handful of years as an analyst over at Clemson. Very, very interested to see John Gross and what he could build at Stanford. That's one that really caught my eye as someone who grew up a Jacksonville State fan, and someone like that his teams are why I cover the FCS today, and that's why I grew up an FCS fan.
That Joel Taylor hire by Mercer, of course, he was at West Georgia. Mercer's former coach then goes off and takes the head coaching job at Toledo. But that one got me. It kind of hit me because I was such a high for Joel Taylor here at Southern. But I'm glad wherever it just shows that, he's the type of coach people want, because Mercer is no slouch of a program as they were in the FCS playoffs this year.
Yeah, no thoughts at all. But if you remember, too, Joel Taylor played a real big part in building Mercer into what it was today, serving as defensive coordinator there for a while. So I really like the fact that Mercer, you look at the trajectory of the program, and Drew Cronick moves up to be, I think he's the OC at Navy now. He might have taken a job this offseason, but that's what he moved up to be with the OC at Navy. Well, then you lose Mike Jacobs after 2 years because he moves up to be the head coach at Toledo. And then what do? You turn back and hire somebody that knows about the culture, that knows about the championship pedigree that you're building there, and was integral in recruiting a ton of those players that you want to keep on your roster. I thought it was an A-plus move by Mercer. And I think Joel Taylor, even though he's at Mercer now, Perry, he's a guy that I could see moving up to the G5 level sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he reminds me of my guy Charles Huff that was at Southern Miss, now about to get ready to take over that Memphis program a couple of years ago. He was over at Marshall. A guy but slowly but surely and silently building programs along the way, man. He gives me that vibe of the guy that's going to be next up to slowly work his way into that next level of the football. And I think at the same time, how do we overlook Chennis Berry being one of those guys that can maybe work his way up to that next level as well?
Oh, yeah, man. I don't think it's talked about enough because I know everyone wants to be critical, and I get it, right? And there's times to be critical. But, man, there's some really good head coaches in HBCU football right now, Perry, that do deserve an opportunity to move up to the next level. And I understand there's going to be some people that get mad and like, why do you think they should elevate? Like, why aren't they good enough where they're at? At the end of the day, every single job in the FCS is a stepping stone. From North Dakota State to Mississippi Valley State, everybody's looking to elevate because it's a business at the end of the day. Chennis Berry, Trey Oliver, T.C. Taylor, Tremaine Jackson, Deshaun Jackson, all could have the opportunity to move up sooner rather than later, man. They're all coaching at a very high level, and I'm really, really excited to see what's going to go into HBCU football next year, man, because I do think we're in a really, really good place in terms of HBCU football right now, Perry.
Let's get ready to take a break, everybody, and we'll come back on the side. We'll continue the conversations with our great guest today, my man. He's not even a guest. He's really at home right now, my man, Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue. So let's take a break, everybody. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
All right, here's the top five.
Oh, man, my HBCU top five. Hey, final ranking. Let's look at it. Delaware State had a phenomenal year. They came up just short in the MEAC championship against South Carolina State. But I think in the first year of Deshaun Jackson, you got to say, man, hats off to the work that guy and his team did to be able to have the success that they had this year. One of the top rushing offenses in the country, and they handled themselves when it came to the MEAC conference. Congratulations to them. Let's go to number 4, Alabama State. For me, they're the number 4 team. They were at home with 10 wins. I know a lot of people hated to see it, but with such a great season, they just didn't win the game that mattered, and that was against Jackson State. And unfortunately for them, with all the success they had this year, no postseason for Eddie Robinson and Alabama State. And I hated to see it from my man, Andrew Body, but unfortunately, it was one game. You see that 7-1. It was that one that held them out of postseason. Now, the next 3 teams that's above all went to postseason, starting with Jackson State, who beat Alabama State and won the SWAC East. Shout out to Jackson State for the success that they had this year. Once again, they held a SWAC championship. They won yet another SWAC East division title. And with all the up and down that they've had this year, they found ways to win and once again hold on to a SWAC East division title. Now coming in at number 2, the team that beat Jackson State, right? Prairie View A&M, first 2025. So here's my final one for the 2025 season. All of these teams, hats off to you. Great season. Number 5, Delaware State. Number 4, Alabama State. Number 3, Jackson State. Number 2, Prairie. The Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody. I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys with us. My man, Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue, joining me talking some FCS football. Good morning, Blue.
Good morning, man.
All right, as we get ready to wrap things up, let's take a look at the FCS playoffs because now we're talking about an FCS national championship. The stage is set, Montana State versus Illinois State. And for the first time in a while, we're not saying anything with Dakota at the end of it, whether it's North or South Dakota. But looking at the FCS playoffs leading into this, did you see Montana State and Illinois State ending up in this situation to be in the national championship?
Come on, Perry. you know nobody. I don't think Illinois State fans had Illinois State in the national championship, especially given they had to go to Fargo round 2, man, and like North Dakota State already beat them this year at home, and so. Like I kind of mentioned it earlier. I just don't think people understand how unprecedented of a run this truly is. This might be the biggest underdog story in FCS football history. Like I said, lost their last regular season game by 30, Perry, to Southern Illinois, who didn't make the playoffs. They lost by 30 at home right before the playoffs. They were one of the last 4 teams in the field. They had to win 4 straight road playoff games, including against North Dakota State, all 4 against top 16 seeds, and are now 9-0 in road games versus the FCS. And I want to remind you, Perry, they were down 14-0 to North Dakota State in that game and threw 5 interceptions and still won.
Amazing.
The most unprecedented run in FCS football history, Perry. That's the way to put it. Now, I'm not surprised about Montana State, man. They're balling right now. Justin Lampson is an elite quarterback. Their run game is clicking. Julius Davis, Adam Jones, balling. The defense has been amazing this year. I think they're going to be the odds-on favorite. They've been to the national championship. It's their 3rd time since 2021. Both of the last 2 times they lost to North Dakota State, and they're going to have a really, really good shot to win their first national championship in 1984.
Couldn't ask for a better semifinal game of 2 rivals, Montana and Montana State, up in Bozeman, Montana at Bobcat Stadium, over 25,000 people. I heard tickets to that game was going $900+ to try to get in there, Blue.
Yeah, Perry, if they could have expanded the seating, they probably would have had 40K there. It set the Montana State attendance record, Perry. They brought in extra seating, opened up extra box seating, and I think they had almost 26,000 people there yesterday. And that was with the snowstorms in Montana all week. So some people it was hard to travel throughout the state. And I'll be very curious to see what the TV viewership is like. Looking at what it had to go up against, right? Because the Celebration Bowl had no competition. It was Tarleton State, Villanova, the Celebration Bowl. That was the only things on. You look at what was on during the Montana State game. It was on ABC, but there you had an NFL game on Fox. You had a college football playoff game on TNT, the D2 National Championship on ESPN2. So then there was a ton of competition. Plus you had basketball on, if I'm not mistaken, on like CBS or something like that, college basketball. So
Arkansas and
competition. Houston. Yeah, so if this game gets 1.5 to 2 million, man, like what a statement for FCS football. Because I want to remind people, like the Celebration Bowl up over 2 million. Montana, South Dakota had 1.9, I believe. The Tarleton Villanova game did over 1 million. And then I believe it was Montana State, Stephen F. Austin did about 1 million. Man, that's so many FCS games that are doing over 1 million views. And then if you remember the national championship last year between NDSU and Montana State, I think 2.4, 2.5 peaked at over 3, which was even more than what the Celebration Bowl did this year. And the FCS National Championship did that on ESPN, Perry, on Monday night. And again, this game's on Monday night. So if it's another year where the Celebration Bowl FCS National Championship do over 2 million views each again, it just shows how healthy the FCS is.
And if I'm not mistaken, in the future years, isn't the FCS National Championship about to find a new home?
So the FCS National Championship this year is in Nashville for the first time. Moved from Frisco because if you remember the soccer stadium in Frisco that they play at is undergoing renovations. They're building a brand new stadium. So they moved it to Nashville for 2 years. They'll reopen bidding and then we'll find a new permanent home. But there's a really, really good chance that Frisco is going to bid again and it'll go back to Frisco after these 2 years in Nashville.
Would you think it'd be nice to find it somewhere down south where maybe the weather's a little bit warmer?
Well, I don't know. Frisco's in Dallas, man. It's not too bad in Dallas.
Man, it get cold in Dallas, man. Come on.
Bro, listen. It was like I think the kickoff temperature was like 20 degrees last year.
No, that's cold, dude.
Oh, no, it was cold last year. But then the year before, Perry, we were in shorts and t-shirts. It was like 70. The year before.
You got to deal with whatever cards you dealt that year, I guess. Then, huh?
Man, listen, me and my guy Coach Fred. You know, Fred's a Florida boy. I'm from Alabama. bro, we weren't ready. And listen, me and him are, you know how Southern guys are, man, we don't really watch the weather because we just assume it's going to be hot everywhere we go. Bro, we show up in Dallas with shorts and T-shirts, man. It's like 20 degrees, man. So we had to make an academy trip and, man, had to buy all new cold gear, hoodies, gloves, and it was cold. It was cold, Perry. I don't miss that.
My man, Zach McKinnell, a.k.a. Blue, joining me today talking some FCS football. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Blue, before you get ready to get out of here, as always, man, as they say, roll the red carpet. Now let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, the Blue Bloods on all podcast platforms and YouTube and then FCS Football Central on si.com/college/FCS. And it's like you said, it's my second home, man. I'm the Jaguar Journal, man, whenever Perry invites me. And shout out to you, Perry, and everything you're doing, man. Congrats on the award that you won about a week or two ago. And man, it's so happy to see you, my guy Scotty, everyone get recognition, man, because y'all are some of the hardest working dudes in the business, man.
I appreciate it, man. And as always, dude, you're the hardest working guy because, hey, it ain't many people I can talk FCS football as a whole outside of the SWAC and MEAC, man, but you're my go-to guy, and I appreciate you always making time for us, man. And always, thank you, Blue.
Absolutely, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right, everybody, let's get ready to take a break. We come back on the other side. We'll continue more of the Jaguar Journal. You guys stay tuned. everybody. We're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to you all. I'm Perry White. Good morning to everybody listening on Talk 107.3 across the Baton Rouge, capital city area on the airwaves, and everybody watching and listening on our YouTube and Facebook Live. Good morning. Glad to have you guys. Be sure to keep up with the Jaguar Journal. Of course, we're across everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and continue to keep up with us as we grow the show. And as we continue the show this morning, very special guest here on the show. I'm not sure if I've had him here yet or not. I got to figure that out as we have this conversation. But he is the director of the Southern University Laboratory School, my man, the director, Herman Brister. Good morning, senior. No, are you senior? Which one are you?
I'm the second. There's one before me and one after me.
Okay, so you in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
Okay.
Middle child syndrome.
Well, good morning, Mr. Brister. How you doing?
Well, look, good morning. I'm excited to be on the show. Long-time listener and follower of the great show named the Jaguar Journal. Just excited to be here. Happy holidays to everyone. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their Christmas this past Thursday.
Well, I'm glad to have you on, man. I'm trying to think. If I think back, is this the first time I've had a conversation with you on the Jaguar Journal?
We've had several sidebars on the sideline and in different arenas, but it's the first time being on the journal. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, welcome, man. We're going to roll out the red carpet for you today because we're going to, not often as we get a chance to talk about Southern University, whether it's the school, the administration side, the sports, but for very long time, Southern Laboratory School has been sitting right there on that campus and has educated a lot of wonderful people. Some great athletes have come out of there, and it's sitting right there on the campus of Southern University. And so how can we talk about Southern without talking about the Southern University Laboratory School and with you the director? Now, what I had to realize was I thought you were the principal for a long time because I didn't realize there was a director role. Then when I had to look it up, I said, wait, he's the top guy. Then there's a principal. But talk about the hierarchy right there of leadership at Southern Lab.
Well, yes, for many years, the school had a director, and the director kind of served in multiple roles. What people don't realize, the laboratory school that sits on the campus of Southern University is a school district within itself. Whether it be a small school district, but we're a school district. And so we have a principal, Ms. Nadia Seals. She serves as the principal, and I serve as the overall director of the laboratory school. We have actually two schools within our school district. And so the laboratory school sits on the great campus of Southern University of Baton Rouge, right across from FG Clark Activity Center next door to the nursing building. And we also have a virtual component, a virtual school, which is a separate school. And our virtual school serves students as far east as New Orleans, far west as Lake Charles, far north as Shreveport and Monroe. And so we cover the gambit in terms of how we're educating kids across the state of Louisiana.
And let me tell you something. One thing I know about them lab alums, they love some of that Southern Lab. They let you know, too, Mr. Brister. They let you know it's all about that lab school, man. And for you to be able to be around and as the director and see when alums come back, man, what is that like to see that pride still that they have for them kids?
Well, there's a strong tradition and legacy at the laboratory school. I'm a proud alumnus myself, PW.
Uh-oh, my bad. Hold on.
I'm a graduate myself. Our principal, Ms. Fields, is a graduate. Our director of advancement is a former alum. We have several faculty members who are alum. Our kids attend there. And so there is great pride and legacy. The laboratory school has been doing this since 1922. A couple of years ago, we celebrated our 100th year anniversary and getting ready to celebrate 105 here soon. And it's a staple on the campus. I tell individuals you cannot say laboratory school without Southern University, and we're intertwined in the fabric of the campus. Our footprints touch the Ag Center, the Law Center, the School of Education, College of Science and Engineering, the History Department, Sociology and Psychology Department, you name it. All of those various departments have some type of footprint throughout the school year at the laboratory school. And our proud alum over the years have had the opportunity to partake in some of those partnerships that we have with the various departments on campus. We've had some legends, some great individuals individuals who worked at NASA, who played in the NFL, who are lawyers, doctors, car dealership owners, Harley-Davidson owners, teachers, the current director and principal. We produced some of the top minds in the country that have come out of that small school on the campus of Southern University, and we're going to continue to be proud.
You know, and as you throw yourself in there as one of those proud, accomplished alums, man, for people out there who may not know a lot about you in terms of the educator that you are, man, give a little history about yourself and how you ended up in this role.
Well, it's ironic. I am a graduate of the laboratory school, did a couple of years coaching with Coach Richardson, and decided to go into coaching full time and was the head football coach at Jackson High School, now East Feliciana High. At the ripe old age of 22, probably one of the youngest in the country, probably at that time. And I did some time at Glen Oaks High School as the head football coach, and got a call, would I be interested in being assistant principal at McKinley Middle Magnet School? And a year later, I was named the principal at McKinley Middle Magnet and did several years there. Did some time at McKinley High School, the first African-American high school in the state of Louisiana. Great time there. And then Mama called and said it's time to come home. And 8 years ago, took the job at my alma mater, Southern Lab. Had a great journey doing so, great memories. I'm excited to be home, excited to be on the campus. I have my bachelor's degree from Southern University, my master's degree from Southern University, and putting all that to use, making sure the lab school continue to be great.
So, you know, growing up, did you see being an educator in your future?
What's ironic, Perry, the job I really wanted was the head football coaching job. Coach Asbury now serves as our football coach. He won 2 state titles under his tenure at the lab school. But that's the job I wanted several years ago, and the timing never really aligned to it, and life started happening and got into an administration role. And guys said, no, that's not the role I want for you at home. We want you to come run the lab school, and then here I am back here making it happen.
You know, I tried it. I subbed at the lab school, man, and I said maybe it ain't my calling yet, or maybe I am not quite there. But, you know, it takes a love that you have to have as an educator for the students in which the lives that you come across each and every day, because you'll be surprised at the backgrounds and what they deal with, and so much being a part of life. And for you, man, what have you found that you've seen as an educator over the years that it draws you to the profession?
One thing, Perry, that being an educator, whether you're a teacher, principal, or bus driver, cafeteria worker, it's a calling. There was a great educator I had to come in and speak to my faculty and staff, and I was taking them to the airport. I said, man, you're doing this all over the country. What's the secret sauce? And he broke it down very simply. He said, you work in some department stores or some other areas or avenues, you have a chance to, if you're having a bad day, you can kind of get off to yourself and you're not be bothered. He said, but when you're an educator, when you're a teacher, no matter if you're having a bad day or a great day, you have 20, 25 kids looking at you, and you got to be on stage every single day. You don't have time to have days off, and so people think this is a thankless profession, but it's a very noble profession. It's a profession that takes a lot of work and a lot of grit, because every day is different. Those 25 youngsters that you have in your classroom, or in our case, we have right at 500 students under our care. You have to bring it every day, and you have to bring with the intent of making sure that they're getting the best out of you, because they look toward us for guidance, for stability. We don't know where our kids come from. We don't know what happened the night before. We don't know what their parents are going through. And yet, when they get out of the vehicles or get off the bus to come to school that next morning, we got to give them our best, because we have an obligation to be consistent when we deal with them on a daily basis.
Proud father moment for you. Your son graduates from Southern Lab. He goes off, but ultimately comes back, and you get to watch him play right across the street at Southern University, man. What was that like for you this year?
Very surreal moment. First of all, he's a proud alum. You talk about those proud alums. He still wears his green and gold across the campus and let everyone know that he's a kitten. He has, I think, 2 rings, one state title in football, state title in basketball. And so, you talk about that tradition, and he's a part of that legacy. My father ran track and did his thing at Southern University, Hall of Famer at Southern University as well. I participated on the track team under Coach Johnny Thomas for 4 years and was SWAC champion. And so I always told him when he was going through the recruitment process, hey, you got to make a decision, but Southern's going to be number 2 or number 3. And we're gonna look at this thing, and the stars aligned where he was able to come back home. His thing was he wants to come home and compete. He wants to come and bring a championship back to the Bluff. That's important to him. He's been winning championships all his life, and so that's one thing he keeps talking about. How to bring that SWAC title back to Southern University. For me as a father, it's been surreal. I would say I coached him all the way up through high school. Then we got up under the tutelage of Coach Ashbury. I kind of backed up a little bit, wanted to give him some space. And I did, but I was still a director of the school. So, when you're the director of your kid's school, you're trying to give them some space because you want them to grow up and want them to be comfortable in the space, because those high school years, you don't get them back. But now, probably for the first time, I'm able just to be a dad. I'm sitting in the stands. I got my season ticket, sitting with my 9 West crew and just enjoying not only the Jaguars play on Saturday night, but I'm watching my son out there contributing, trying to help them win ball games as well. So it's a surreal moment, and it's a chance if, for the individuals out there who teach or coach their kids, they can identify. Probably for the first time, I'm able just to be a father, just sit in the stands and just enjoy him playing without having any input on how that outcome is going to be.
Now, let me ask you, are you part of the crew that like to cut up in 9 West?
No, I'm probably the one in 9 West. I'm probably one of the ones in 9 West try to keep everybody calm and keep everybody level and grounded. I'm blessed to kind of have some experience, so I can, when something doesn't go where they think it should, I'm like, well, hold on. No, the quarterback did try to throw it out of bounds. He's not inaccurate. He wanted to get out of a bad play and not take a sack. So let's calm down. No, you can't go for it on 4th and 1 on a -30 because we want to be pent back. So he need to punt right here.
So you're the man of reason in the section.
I'm the voice of reason in 9 West to kind of keep everything under control.
That's a hell of a responsibility.
It is, because people start looking at me. Why did they do that, John? This is why you can't. You got to do that. You got to do why, because there's some strategies to this. You can't just call plays and hopefully they're gonna work every time. They coaching on the other side of the field too. They got scholarship players on the other side of the field as well.
That is correct, man. I'm glad you said that, because it shows you are amongst the people, but as a dad, a lot of times, especially as parents, you sit in the stands and somebody sit next to you, and let's say your kid don't make the right play or something there, hey, you kind of got to give them a little look sometime, don't you?
Well, I've been in that situation maybe once or twice, and I'm okay. I have thick skin.
Okay.
I know parents. I know ticket holders pay tickets to come see a sporting event. And people are going to say certain things, but only time you might get a look at it if it gets personal. But if he didn't make a bad play, if he didn't make the play that we thought he should have made, he deserved it. Whatever come to it, he got to make it happen. That's what you signed up for.
Hey, because you got to look over. You say, hold on one damn moment. Now that's my boy. All right, let's get ready to take a break, everybody. We got my man Herman Brister. He's the second. I got to make sure I say that. It's not the junior. It's the second, right?
I would say second, yeah, because it's interesting. My dad doesn't have the same middle name as me, but he's Herman Brister, so I would say second. That's fine.
Herman Brister. Is it the second or Herman Brister 2 second?
I would say 2. Let's go with that.
Okay. Mike laughing at me over here, trying to what is he doing? But let's get ready to take a break, man. He's the director of the Southern University Laboratory School. We're going to learn some history about the school and figure out where it comes from and where it's headed under his direction. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
By Carlos Funchess' group. He's in his 8th season at Southern. Actually been on campus for 21 years with the program. Anywhere in the SWAC to win an NCAA tournament game.
Well, that pressure caused a turnover for Arizona.
Oh, nice bucket by Porter. Arizona in its 53rd season of basketball, trying to defend in the paint, and that is just tough to defend off the window. Porter.
You put it on the ground as a post player. I always said no more than one dribble, but it's just show and go, and she said, give me the ball.
Tate inside, beautiful pass, finished by Hall. The Lady Jags is 7. Nice take by Lagway, came up short. Cam Kitchen all alone. She's not going to miss from there.
Yeah, she took off, you know.
This is with leading scorer Hurston being held to just 2 points. That triple is good. Tremendous make and take by Arizona with an opportunity to add to its 6-0 run.
That was a really nice basket by Delancey, and Arizona forced a lot. Oh, that was a great basket by Francois.
Nice answer by Arizona.
If they can on the sideline, there it is, and there it is.
Cunningham gives it up. Purdue pushing pace.
And a foul. If they can on the sideline, there it is, and there it is.
Cunningham gives it up. Purdue pushing pace.
And a foul. And a foul.
Too strong. Francois Oboard. Short. Francois again up and in.
Big basket there by Francois following her own miss.
And that is going to do it. Southern can celebrate. And
all right, everybody, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody. I'm Perry White, joined by a very special guest. He's the director of the Southern University Laboratory School, Herman Brister II. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, now let's jump into it. You know, for you say going on 105 years, Southern University Laboratory School has been doing this job at educating some great, wonderful people. Give us a kind of a overview of the history of the Southern University Laboratory School.
Well, you know, when you look at our history as African American, one thing that was important and embedded that we knew over 100 plus years ago, that education was important. And one thing that our founders, and you start looking at the Clark family, F.G. Clark, Joseph Samuel Clark, they knew that it was important for us to have a training ground for teachers and for educators. That was the central hub for getting our community and really jumpstarting the middle class. And so you create a laboratory school at that time to be a training ground for future teachers. And it did that. We have a great relationship with the College of Education under new leadership right now of Dr. Osage, who's continuing that legacy in her shop. But over 100 years ago, that's what the school really was, the bedrock principle of the laboratory school, was to be that training ground. And it continued to be that at this time today. And so over those years, the laboratory school really became that central hub for the university as a training ground. Again, not only for the College of Education, but for other departments as well. And when you look at our current students, we have students all across the country who are doing well. You know, I think of the Maya Jones who's going into law school, and I got a Brandis Lee who just graduated from Southern a couple of years ago, who's moved to Texas to go into her career of business. I got Carrington Hall, who's back with us now, who graduated with almost 30-something plus dual enrollment hours, and now he's our director of development. I got a young lady, Kelsey, who's at Spelman doing well, and several students across the country who are doing well. And so when you look at a laboratory school that's embedded with family, the long-standing tradition of legacy, we have all the tools it takes for kids to get a great education in a small environment. I once was the principal of a large high school of over 1,500 students. And what sets the laboratory school apart is we do not have that large population of students. So when I see my kids get out of the vehicles every morning, I'm seeing the same faces, and the touch points are a whole lot more frequent. You can't hide in our halls because we don't have a large number of students. And you can't put a price tag on the relationships that happen as a result of being a small school. That's what makes our school great. You could be a big fish in a small pond at the lab school and not get lost in the shuffle. I use my own son as an example. He did football, basketball, baseball, track, graduated with honors, mock trial, beta club. He did it all, kind of like I did when I was at the lab school. Whereas when you go to some of the larger high schools, it's kind of tough to get in that mix with a whole bunch of different things because the competition is a whole lot stiffer. And it's not just about the sports or not just about your main things. Right now, last year we took some kids to go to a STEM robotics competition where they created underwater robots and competed against other schools across the state of Louisiana. And just to see the experience on those kids' faces, the smiles on those kids' faces when we were doing that, it makes it all worthwhile. And you can't get that intimate feel at a lot of your larger institutions. As we continue to grow and promote our programming, it helps to have the university lockstep with you. And so, for example, I just talked about an underwater robotics. Our College of Science and Engineering sent students to kind of help with that project, and we're continuously doing that now. When you look at our mock trial team, Professor Jones, who is a retired professor from State University Law Center, and other students, they come over and work with our mock trial team. We got 2 moot court winners who is getting ready to Anwar McKinney Jr. and Brock Duke. They're getting ready to travel to, I think, the D.C. area to participate in the moot court competition because they won the local competition. Our State University Law Center helped prepare those students for that competition. I know a lot of times people don't really know about the jewel of the lab school, but we can hold our own with the best of them. And again, as you stated earlier, Perry, as a proud alumnus, you can't beat this education with an egg beater.
Let me ask, because being a proud alum, that means there were educators along the way that, ultimately changed and transformed lives. Give me some of those significant educators that, have been around and were around that truly made an impact into young people's lives right there at Southern University Laboratory School.
I can tell you during my era, you look at the Dorothy Harris who passed away, God rest her soul, who was that educator who loved the lab school, who loved her students. She would drive the van. She coached volleyball. She coached, but she's over the Beta Club. She did youth and government, was a great history teacher. She kind of set that foundation and kind of helped inspire me to give everything I could to my students. And when I do things for my students, I'm thinking about her memory as I do it. The Gussie Trahan was an administrator not only on the Southern Lab campus, but as well as on the campus of Southern University and the College of Education. And Dr. Wilcox was a great legendary principal in the 70s. Miss Nunnery, the Miss Thomas, people know Miss Thomas from being a pre-K teacher. That was at the lab school for years. People don't know this, Perry, but, you can come on Southern University campus from pre-K to PhD, and really from nursery to PhD, because we do have a great early learning center, early childhood center on the campus of Southern University as well. So you really can come from birth and all the way to get your PhD in all in one location. I want you to process that for a second, Perry, how powerful that is when you can have kids coming on your campus and be immersed in the Southern University system from the time they come out the womb to the time they get a PhD.
We got to find out who's that one person. Do you know who's been there from the nursery all the way through? Who is that?
I have one now. My director of development went to Southern Lab from pre-K, and he's working on his PhD as we speak. So he's going to be my face of that statement real soon. He's almost finished. So, Mr. Hall, our director of development, putting you on the spot. You got to finish because you're going to be the face of that statement.
And let's talk about, you say the educators of your time, but let's talk about some of the educators that are there now as you are the director of the school that are continuing the legacy of educating young people.
You can't. You got to start with our principal, Nadia Steele. She is a graduate of the lab school. I think she came to Southern Lab in middle school and has been there ever since, actually. She graduated with honors, top of her class, and then went to Southern University. Proud Southern University alum. She's a season ticket holder as well, and did her student teaching like I did at the lab school, and has been at the lab school ever since, and did a teacher and dean of students. She ran our virtual school to award-winning virtual school, and earning the top school performance school honors for virtual school, statewide virtual schools in the state, and now She serves as our principal. So you got to start with the leadership of that. Her leadership team, Ms. Sherrod and Ms. Chitlow serve as assistant principals, great educators in their own right. You cannot always at the school, always working, always trying to get it done. I mentioned Coach Ashbury earlier. He's an alum, graduated, I think in '90. I'm sorry, Jaguar Nation, for saying this, but he did attend Jackson State.
Boo!
I give him a hard time every day. He on campus about going to Jackson State, but he was starting quarterback at Jackson State
Every day.
And look, not every day, every day. Every day, every time I see him, I got to give him a hard time about Jay Stank.
Y'all listen to him and Rob J when they calling the games up there, man.
Now, let me say this, Perry. They do a pretty good. I did tell them this. They do a pretty good job calling the games. They have good chemistry.
They do. It's entertaining. You know, it's just not listening to first down, whatever. I love the conversation and the back and forth with them, man.
They do a pretty good job calling the game. Look, I got to give credit where credit's due about that. They do a pretty good job with that. We just hired Crystal Flowers as our basketball coach. She's a lab alum. She spent time at McKinley High School, McKinley Middle, and other places. She just replaced, and I'm gonna say legendary coach now, Kiana Chaney, who took an assistant head coaching job over at Grambling.
Mm-hmm.
She won 3 state titles at the lab school in girls basketball. She won 3 state titles as a player when she was here, and she was a McDonald's All-American while she was here. In fact, Perry, you should be hearing something about this real soon. She was just not inducted. She just was selected to be inducted, because the induction ceremony is not until March, to the Louisiana High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame.
Oh, congratulations to her.
Yeah, Coach Q. So you're listening by way of Grambling up north. Again, that's another word. It's hard for me to say, but
them not cousins, all right? Them the cousins now.
It's on the bad blood one day of the other year. It's not like Jackson 365.
Yeah, we can be like, hey, if you're hungry, come over to the house and get something to eat. If it's Jackson, it's like you just gonna be hungry, all right?
You got to sit that one out if you Jackson. That's 365 right there. But Perry, we got some great things going. Applications are coming out soon. If you're interested, the next application period is going to be coming out early January, February. So start looking out for that. It's a great place to send your kid to get a good, wholesome, well-rounded education. Like I said, Perry, you can't beat it with an egg beater. Now, people don't know some of the big names. You know, Marcus Spears, who we see on ESPN, is a proud lab alum, All-American that graduated from the lab school. And right now we have a few players in the NFL, Tyrion Davis-Price and Damone Clark and others who have gone on to play in the NFL. My uncle, people don't know, Willie Bristol in the 70s ended up playing for the Jets. Graduated from the lab school and ended up going to State University and playing for the New York Jets. So that lineage is strong.
Very much so. You got a second to hang on with me with one more segment?
Sure.
All right, everybody, let's get ready to take a break. My man, Herman Bristol II, who is the director of the Southern University Laboratory School, joined us, giving us some history and some knowledge of why the pride and it's just so run deep with the kid. And so you guys stay tuned to learn more and continue to hear more. We'll be back more to Jaguar Journal.
And Southern trying to make it 2 straight wins against a Power 4. As we see the Houston starting 5, Kiera Merchant is not available today. It's Pagero, Jones, Hunter.
All right, everybody, we're back. It is the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everyone. Glad to have you guys with us. I am Perry White. Good morning to everybody listening on Talk 107.3 FM around the Baton Rouge capital city area on the airwaves, and everybody watching, listening on our YouTube and Facebook Live this morning. Glad to have you guys with us. Once again, be sure to keep up and grow with us here at the Jaguar Journal across all social media networks and everywhere else. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on TikTok, X, along with Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All you got to do is hit a follow button, hit a like button, hit a subscribe button. It costs nothing. It is free. We don't need your social security number. We don't need to know how many kids in your household. We don't even need to know your date of birth. We just need your love and your support, and that's all as we continue to grow. And this morning, as we're talking about growth, we're talking about the Southern University Laboratory School and how it has survived 100+ years and continuously growing. And the man behind the plan that is helping it grow, the director of the Southern University Laboratory School, my man Herman Bristol II. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
As we continue this conversation, man, and I'm learning a lot, which I'm enjoying this, because when I came to Southern University, I saw the school over there, but I didn't know much about the Southern Lab School. But trust me, it didn't take long until I ended up getting friends with my buddy Chris Barber, and he was the first one to tell me, listen, it's different at the lab school. And then he started bringing me around others that was alums. I said, man, y'all got more pride than, listen, I had to bag out because I was talking a little noise, because the first thing they tell me about is all the championships that's won at Southern Lab. And I know nobody better that can tell it than you, man. Southern University Laboratory School has a rich history when you talk about its athletics program.
Well, the laboratory school has won more state titles than any other high school in the state of Louisiana. And, that spirit of competing at high levels is definitely there. We have students across the Metro Baton Rouge area who are very interested in coming and being part of our tradition at the laboratory school. And it's been that way for decades, and it continues to be that way. We've done a pretty good job of trying our best to put the best coaches in front of our student athletes. And as a result, you will continue to see those state titles rack up. It's important for us not just to win, but we want to win with class. We want to do it the right way, because we want our student athletes to leave us and be productive citizens as they progress in the next stage of their lives. And so winning those state titles, that is huge. We promote our students very, very, very well in terms of getting them out in front and preparing them for the next step. We know all of them will not play at the next level. Some will not, but we want their experience at the lab school from 9th grade all the way to 12th grade to be the best one. I don't know if you noticed, Perry, but we have some kids who are in 7th and 8th grade who play on some of our varsity teams. We have some of our girls basketball in particular. Some of them have been on the team since the 7th grade, getting nurtured, getting their feet wet, in terms of varsity action at an early age. So you picture a 7th or 8th grader, by the time they get to a senior year, the game has slowed down tremendously for a kid who's been in this for 5, 6 years. And so those are some of the benefits in terms of being part of the laboratory school program. You look at our volleyball program and where we headed. Many of those girls are playing club right now and getting ready already for next year. I know some of my students had a chance to kind of text and go see them yesterday are playing club volleyball. Even though the regular season ended about a month ago, they're playing club right now. We won a state title last year in track. Coach Davis is going to take over our track program for the departure of Coach Washington, who's the Southern University football alum, as the head football coach now at Peabody. But we won a state title last year in track and field, and we won it last year in girls basketball. And every year, Coach Ashbury is knocking on the door to win a state title in football. And so, one thing, if you come to lab school participate in athletics, you're gonna see how it's supposed to be done, and we're respected and renowned across the state of Louisiana in terms of what we bring to the table in terms of athletics.
I like when you say how it's supposed to be done. See, that's that lab talk right there. You see what I'm saying?
Well, you got to do it. You got to do it right, and we don't want to talk about it, Perry, because sometimes it's taboo. But athletics is a business, and we don't want it. Sometimes we talk about the high character, and we want to do it a certain way, and that's very, very important as how on our list. But it's also a business, and doing it right as a business, our students are going to benefit. And that's that. We're going to travel on charter buses. We go up north. We're going to make sure we're eating high quality meals, not just throwing stuff in front of our kids. We're going to make sure when the press put a microphone in their face, they're going to know how to talk correctly and know how to answer questions appropriately. So we're preparing them for the business of college athletics as they come through our program.
In terms of yourself, man, and being a part of the community, you're on the YMCA Baton Rouge board. You're also on the LHSAA executive committee. Talk about yourself, man, and what you do outside of Southern Lab in order to make sure you have your fingerprint on the community that's surrounding you.
Well, one thing is important when you're in this business called education. You have to have relationships. You have to be able to be a bridge to other entities to that would benefit our students. And being on the YMCA board, the Metro YMCA board has been a benefit. 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they started a swim program where they wanted to teach uh, students how to swim at an early age. Of course, in the Black community, swimming is not a high priority. And when you start talking about drowning deaths across the country, the highest percentage that fall into that category are African Americans. So they wanted to really make an impact with that. And as a result of having a strong relationship with the Y, the laboratory school was one of the schools chosen to participate in that program. So just imagine you got your pre-K, first, second, third grade students getting on the bus during a school day and go and learn how to swim. Process that for second period. You as part of your PE curriculum, the PE coach is going to get on the bus. We're going to go around the corner to the Exxon Mobil YMCA over there by Howell Place, and you're going to learn how to swim. To see those students, first of all, to see the excitement of those students getting on the bus to go swim was one thing. To watch them get in the water, start overcoming their fears of in water safety, and then learning how to do different strokes and learning how to survive in the water. That's what that relationship, having those strong relationships become very, very meaningful. Yesterday, I think not yesterday, a couple of days ago, last week, we were able to meet Gail Benson, the owner of the Saints and Pelicans, and Ty Graves. Ty Graves gave bicycles, and the laboratory school is one of the schools chosen to get those bicycles. You're meeting one of the most influential businessmen in the country, in the world, because of that relationship with the Y. And so having relationships with various entities, I am blessed to be on the LHSA executive committee. And so having an inside take in terms of where athletics is headed, what's on the forefront, I get firsthand knowledge in that, and also being able to help other principals, other school leaders, other school districts advance their athletic departments as a benefit and a plus. And then it's a blessing to do so. I was able to help with the LSSA football championship a couple of weeks ago as a result of being part of that committee. And so when you start talking about impact, when you start talking about reach, having partnerships and having relationships, you cannot do this alone. You cannot do this in silos. It just doesn't work, because we are in the people's business, and you need people to move people.
You was talking about those swimming lessons. I'll tell you a story that a lot of people don't know. I drowned once, died. They brought me back. I was a kid. Baseball was my sport before I got into football, but as a kid, I was made the all-star team. And before we got ready to go to regionals, our coach, they took us out to the state park, kind of unwind. And, of course, on the way there as kids, I lied. And everybody was talking about how good of a swimmer they were. So I wasn't no good swimmer at all. But I'm talking about how good of a swimmer I am. So I'm sitting here lying. First thing I do when we get there, they got the slide that goes around and goes drop down into the 10 feet. I'm the first person go get on the slide. All I remember, I hit the water and I looked up and I can just see the sun glistening on top of the water. Next thing I remember, I was spitting up water. The coach looked at me. They threw a life jacket on me. That was what I had for the rest of the day. All I know, when they took me home, they told my mama what happened. She whooped me. She said, "Why you going with them folks lying and you about to die talking about you know how to swim?" So I know exactly how important it is. And trust me, I learned how to swim quick after that. They put me in swimming lessons at the Y, and that's how I ended up getting it. So I can relate to how important that is, man.
I can tell you, for me, you talk about a proud father moment, a proud school leader moment. That would be one of them, because that's a direct example of how good leadership can impact students, and not only in the short term, but long term. Because when you start talking about swimming, like you said, I was that kid who struggled one time with swimming and was able to get swim lessons through the Y. But that's a life-saving skill that our community desperately needs.
It definitely is, man. And, what does the future for Southern Laboratory School look like?
Well, right now, what's important for us is to continue to grow. I'll tell faculty, staff, and students alike, it's one or two things that happen. Either you're growing or you're dying. There's no in between. And so we must continue to grow. And whether that's continue to grow in numbers, which we will and continue to do, but also in programming and what we're offering kids and making sure that we stay on the cutting edge of what the state is asking from a State Department of Education standpoint, but also from a workforce development standpoint. We know AI is everywhere. And so I'm using that as an example. How are we preparing our students for artificial intelligence? What jobs will be created as a result of artificial intelligence? What jobs are getting ready to be eliminated as a result of artificial intelligence? And then how are we going to respond in kind as an academic institution for those changes that are getting ready to take place in terms of artificial intelligence? And so we have a responsibility to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge with the change in technology and with the job market that are taking place. We have a brand new school on horizon. They're going to build it right behind the current lab school. It's going to roughly be a $70 million facility that's going up. When that school gets erected, enrollment is going to increase. We want to make sure that programming fits, like I just said, that increase of enrollment that in programming fits the facility from a structural standpoint of what we're offering students. Right now, we're in conversation as we speak with State University Baton Rouge, State University Shreveport, and the system, and wanting to offer a robust associate degree program. So university system is the only HBCU system in the world, and so it only makes sense for us to take advantage of our system and offer advanced degrees for students who are in the K-12 setting and not just wait until they graduate past high school to get an advanced degree. So we want our students to have the advantage of getting an associate degree while they're in college, but then take that associate degree and push straight on into the university, SUBR, to finish their degree and have their BS degree within 2 years and get that paid for. So if you got any donors out here listening, I know Christmas was just this past Thursday, and y'all in the giving spirit, so we're going to be looking for donations and looking for partners and strategic partners to help fulfill this dream of students getting an associate degree while they're at the lab school, getting their BS degree in 2 years while they're at Southern, and getting it fully paid for, because we want the top minds in the area to come take full advantage of the family atmosphere that's been offered not only at the lab school, but State University of Baton Rouge.
For anybody out there that's listening and want to send their child to Southern Lab after this, saying, man, that's the place I want to send my kid, or anybody like you just said that want to be a donor, how can they keep up with Southern University Laboratory School and get in contact with you guys?
Well, first, like us on Facebook, social media, Instagram, Twitter, X. We're on SULS Kittens, LinkedIn. Those 3 or 4 social media outlets. Our website is www.sulabschool.com. You can follow us there. Again, our Director of Development is Mr. Carrington Hall. Feel free to call the school at 225-771-3490. Ask them how to get involved. If you're an alum, still continue to reach out. It's not just about giving money back to the school, but we want your time and talent and resources to make sure that the legacy of the laboratory school continues for another 100 years. Again, that's our obligation to do so.
I appreciate you for coming on this morning. For everybody that's listening, that's the voice of Mr. Herman Brister II. He is the director of the Southern University Laboratory School right there on the campus of Southern University. Thank you for all of the history, the future, and everything else in terms of even learning more about yourself, man, and everything that goes into what you're doing over there, man. I appreciate that.
Look, I appreciate it. Congratulations to you on winning the HBCU award that you just got for journalism. Congratulations to you. Look, we wish Coach Falk the best of luck as he makes his way to the Bluff. All you want for Christmas is, winning season. So hopefully we finna turn the corner and get this thing rolling.
You know what? I may come join you in 9 West one of these days. See how you get
come
that.
on up there. When I tell you I love my section, that is the section to be at. It's right next to the band, and we have some very colorful people in 9 West. I love it.
I appreciate you for coming on this morning, taking the time. It won't be the last time. And anytime you got anything going over there and you want the people to know, man, let me know, and we'll definitely get you on, because you are part of the Southern University system too. So, hey, today was the Kitten Journal, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Same here, and anything I can do to help continue the support of you your work in the Jaguar Journal. We'll look forward to doing it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year to everyone.
All right. That's my man, Herman Brister II. He is the director of the Southern University Laboratory School. Good to be able to have a conversation with him. Let's get ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll get ready to close things out. You guys stay tuned. More to Jaguar Journal. All right, everybody, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal with Perry White right here. Thank you to everybody listening on Talk 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area. Everybody, of course, I continuously say on our YouTube and Facebook, good morning to you guys as well, and everybody out there. If you're listening to my voice, be sure to keep up with the Jaguar Journal on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. There's no excuse to say I did not know. Because literally, if you go on any one of those and you type in the Jaguar Journal, boom, there we are. Continue to grow with us. We looked at the numbers last week. Man, we are growing nearly 300,000 views total on our YouTube, which is amazing considering this show, right? Everybody don't necessarily want to listen about Southern and what's going on around Southern, but that's why we try to give you a variety of things, not always about Southern. This isn't just necessarily a sports show either. I know doing season football takes it over because, of course, we love our football at Southern. And what other show right now on radio that you can find that's going to give you 2 hours worth of whatever you need to come from Southern University? And like today's show, I want to thank Herman Brister II, the director of the Southern University Laboratory School, where we get an opportunity to highlight what makes us us. That's the beauty of this. That's the importance why we have the Jaguar Journal. That's why the Jaguar Journal has been around well before Perry White, 20 plus years. But now that I'm at the helm, we are trying to lead this thing in a new direction. The same way you heard Herman Brister talking about the direction of Southern Laboratory, making sure it's headed in a new direction, because guess what? If you're not growing, you're dying. So we got to continue to grow here. For years, this was just simply a radio show. Now it is more than it. People sometimes call it a podcast, which it is not. It is a radio show that has been converted over to now that people outside of Baton Rouge can be able to keep up with. And that is the beauty why we love it now. We get to interact with anybody across the world who gets the chance and wants to listen to the Jaguar Journal, because before we were just kind of, as they said, landlocked to Baton Rouge. If you wasn't up from 7 to 9 to listen to the show, you missed it. If you wasn't in the Baton Rouge capital city area, you missed it. Now you can listen to the show anytime, whether you up listening to it live or after the fact. Is why you got to go subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as you get to keep up with any of the episodes that you've missed from past all the way up to present. That's what we're continuously doing to grow what we do right here on the Jaguar Journal. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. Have a great weekend. I hope you had an even better holiday. I hope you have a great new year, because the next time we talk to you guys, it'll be 2026. So get those New Year's resolutions together. I hope you stick to those New Year's resolutions. And I hope if you had a bad 2025, come up with a plan to figure out how can a 2026 be even better. And if you had a great 2026, let's make sure we try to take it to a whole nother level in 2026. We're going to continue to try to do that right here at the Jaguar Journal, and continue to do that with our very lives. From myself, Perry White, my man Mike, and CJ. Listen, we have just thank you for the support that you've given us during the 2025 year. And as we move on to 2026, we want to say have a great rest of your holiday and have a happy new year. And we'll see you next in 2026, because always it's the Jaguar Journal. What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.